little story about a night shift where the customers never leave. The job I never wanted. I was 16 when I took the night shift at Quick Mart 24/7. Not because I wanted to. God, no. That store sat like a rotting tooth at the edge of town. The kind of place people only went when they were desperate for cigarettes or gas at 3 in the morning. The neon sign buzzed like a dying fly, half the letters flickering out. Even the parking lot seemed wrong, too empty most of the time, but with oil stains that looked almost like shadows stretched out in directions they shouldn't go. I hated it, hated every second of being there, but I didn't have a choice. My dad had walked out a year earlier. One day he said he was going for a drive, and he never came back. My mom didn't cry, at least not in front of me, but I could tell she wasn't eating much. Bills piled up. The fridge grew emptier. By the end of that summer, we were barely scraping by on her part-time hours at the diner. So I stepped up. I told myself it was temporary, just until things got better. A teenager working graveyard shifts, trading sleep for grocery money. And Quick Mart was the only place that would take me. Nobody else wanted a 16-year-old boy with no experience, willing to work midnight to 8. The manager, Mr. Harlan, looked me over the way someone looks at a stray mutt that's wandered onto their porch. He didn't care that I was still in high school. Didn't care that I was barely old enough to drive. He just shoved a stack of forms at me and told me when to show up. That's how I found myself under the humming lights, standing behind a register that always smelled faintly of burnt plastic, staring at the endless rows of stale candy and day-old coffee. It was lonely mostly. The hours stretched out in silence, broken only by the occasional trucker buying an energy drink, or some bleary-eyed parent dragging themselves in for milk. I told myself the quiet was good. I could do my homework there, maybe even get ahead in school. But the silence never felt empty. It felt crowded, like someone was always just about to step inside. And some nights, they did. Only they weren't really there. The first time it happened, it was around 2:15 a.m., a dead hour. The store was so quiet, I could hear the soda cooler humming in the back, a sound like someone whispering behind glass. I was leaning on the counter, half asleep, when the door chimed. That chime always startled me, tinny, mechanical. But this time it felt like it cut straight into my bones. I straightened, expecting another trucker, maybe a night nurse on her way home. But the parking lot was empty. No headlights, no engines, no footsteps across the wet asphalt. Still, the door had opened. I swear I heard it. That little swoosh of the glass sliding back, the bell giving its flat ding. And then someone walked in. He was tall, too tall, like his head almost brushed the buzzing fluorescent lights. He wore an old jacket, brown, stiff with age, and his hands dangled at his sides like weights. I couldn't see his face clearly. The shadows in the store clung to him like wet paper. I forced a smile, the one Mr. Harlan told me to practice. "Evening," I said. No response. He didn't even glance at me. Instead, he shuffled down the nearest aisle. I heard his boots dragging against the linoleum, slow, deliberate. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach twist. No reflection. The store had these big refrigerated units along the wall, glass doors shining under the lights. You could always catch people in them, distorted and wavy. But as the man passed, the glass showed nothing. Just empty rows of bottled water and soda. I blinked hard, told myself it was the lighting, a trick of the angle. But my skin prickled like it didn't believe me. I leaned over the counter, trying to get a better look. He'd stopped in front of the candy rack, just standing there, not picking anything up, not moving at all. The silence pressed heavier. Even the hum of the cooler seemed to fade. Then, slowly, he turned his head toward me. It wasn't his face that turned. It was like his whole body swiveled as one piece, stiff and unnatural, until he was facing me again. And though I couldn't make out his features, I felt it, like his eyes had locked onto mine from across the room. The air felt colder. My chest tightened. I opened my mouth to speak, to ask if he needed help, but no sound came out. And then, without a word, he took one dragging step closer. That first night, I thought he was going to come straight for me. He didn't. After standing there for what felt like an hour, but was probably less than a minute, the tall man just turned. The same stiff, jerking motion as before, like his body was a mannequin someone was rotating. And then he walked toward the door, boots dragging, hands swinging low. The chime rang again as he left, only the glass didn't slide. The door didn't open. The sound was there, sharp and clear, but the door itself never moved. I sat behind the counter, paralyzed, until daylight seeped through the windows. I told myself I imagined the whole thing. Hallucination, sleep deprivation, stress, whatever. I shoved it down and buried it. But the store didn't let me forget. 2 nights later, Mr. Harlan left me a note taped to the register. Check footage from yesterday, 3 p.m. Theft in aisle 4. I sighed. Some kid probably stuffed candy bars into his backpack. I wasn't in the mood, but it was my job. The security monitors were tucked away in the back office. This claustrophobic little room that smelled like mildew and old paper. The cameras were ancient, flickering in black and white. I queued up the tape from 3 p.m. At first it looked normal. A couple of teenagers browsing, a mother with a stroller. Then, right on schedule, The feed showed it. Someone reaching out, shoving something into their jacket pocket. I leaned closer, trying to catch the face. And that's when I froze, because standing just a few feet away, in the very same aisle, was him, the tall man. Same jacket, same stiff posture. Just watching, my skin went cold. I rewound the footage, watched again. Same thing. He was there, towering behind the shelves, unmoving. But there was more. I realized the camera angle cut a reflection in the freezer glass. And in that reflection, behind the tall man, two more figures stood. One hunched, with its head hanging too low, almost scraping the shelf. The other small, childlike, with its arms too long, hands brushing the floor. Neither of them were visible in the aisle itself, just in the reflection. My throat tightened. I fast-forwarded, searching for when they'd leave, but they never moved. Minute after minute, hour after hour. Customers came and went. Some brushed right past them. No sign they noticed. And still the figures stayed, standing, watching. By midnight, the store was empty again on the footage, except for them. 3 shapes, motionless in the aisles, frozen like mannequins that weren't supposed to be there. And when the timestamp on the tape reached the exact moment I walked in for my shift, all 3 turned their heads toward the entrance at once. They'd been waiting for me. After I saw that tape, I couldn't walk the aisles the same way anymore. Every row felt tighter, like the shelves leaned closer than they should, closing me in. The buzzing lights above didn't help. Half of them flickered, turning shadows into living things that jittered across the floor. And I swear sometimes those shadows didn't line up with the shelves. That first shift after the tape, I kept telling myself, don't look in the glass. Don't look in the glass. Because the reflections always gave them away. The figures weren't always there in front of me, but the mirrors, the cooler doors, even the shiny surface of the coffee machine, they showed more than I wanted to see. I was sweeping up near aisle 4 when I heard it. A sound. Not footsteps. Not the hum of the cooler. A voice. Low, broken, whispering right at the edge of hearing. I froze. The broom bristles scraped against the linoleum as I stopped mid-sweep. My ears strained. At first it was like static. Then it grew clearer. You never left. I whipped around, aisle empty. Nothing but stacked bags of chips and neon candy wrappers. My heart hammered. I forced myself to keep working, told myself it was the radio, except we didn't have one. Minutes passed. Then another whisper. Closer now. The broom clattered out of my hands. My pulse thudded in my throat as I turned. Slow this time. And there, reflected in the freezer glass, stood the hunched one. Its head still bowed low, black hair dangling forward like wet strings. But it wasn't alone. In the reflection, I could see the small one too, crouched low on the floor of the next aisle, arms spread out too wide, fingers splayed across the tiles as if crawling toward me. I spun to face it. Aisle empty. But the whisper didn't stop. He's watching. We're watching. My legs gave way for a second, and I nearly dropped to my knees. I backed toward the register, the one spot in the store where the lights shone brightest, where the cameras could see me. And as I reached the counter, the chime rang. The door hadn't opened, but something had just come in. The chime rattled through the air like it always did, but this time it didn't fade. It seemed to hang, vibrating against the humming lights, until I thought my teeth might crack from the sound. I stared at the glass doors. They were shut tight. Nothing had moved. But the mat inside, where customers wiped their feet, was wet. Like someone had just stepped through the rain outside. My whole body locked up. The register screen glowed a pale green in front of me. Numbers waiting for a sale that would never come. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Uneven. Too heavy for a single person. Like each step dragged weight across the floor. I couldn't see anyone, but I could hear them, clear as day, moving down the first aisle. One step. Pause. Another step. I leaned over the counter, trying to catch a glimpse. That's when I saw him. The tall one. Same jacket. Same dangling arms. Only now, closer than before. He stood at the end of the candy aisle, body rigid, head slightly tilted, as though trying to study me. The shelves didn't block him this time. He wasn't hiding. He was standing in the open. I swallowed hard. My voice cracked when I tried to speak. Stores. Closed. Lie. Everyone in town knew we were open 24/7. He didn't move. Didn't blink. But behind him, reflected in the glossy candy wrappers, I saw the hunched one again. It swayed gently, like a pendulum, and lower to the floor, between its legs, crawled the small one, its arms stretched farther than any humans should, palms dragging across the tiles, fingers twitching. I forced myself to look away, to stare only at the man standing there, not the reflections. And then, without a sound, He stepped forward, closer, one aisle away now. I gripped the register edge so hard, my knuckles went white. "Don't," I whispered. He didn't listen. Another step. Closer. And now I realized something I hadn't before. The others weren't just following him. They were moving with him. Every time he shifted, their reflections shifted too, always staying just behind him, like shadows tethered to his body. He was bringing them with him, and they were all coming closer to the register. I couldn't stay at the counter, not with him moving closer, so I bolted. My shoes slapped the linoleum as I cut down aisle 2, heading for the back exit, the emergency door with the push bar. But the aisle didn't end. The rows of cereal boxes kept going and going. The floor beneath me felt the same, my footsteps echoing, but the shelves stretched farther with every stride. I broke into a run, heart hammering. The fluorescents buzzed above me, lights stuttering, and still the aisle just stretched. The end was always there, a few feet ahead, always just out of reach. I slowed, chest burning, and turned. He was there, at the far end, standing in the center of the aisle like he'd been waiting the whole time. And behind him, in the glossy sheen of the freezer glass, I saw the other two. Closer now. Much closer. I backed away, my spine pressed to the shelf, cardboard boxes crinkling against my shoulders. The aisle bent, not just curved, bent. The rows of shelves tilted, folding inward like a funhouse corridor. The floor rippled, tiles slipping under my feet, as though I were standing on water. I staggered sideways, trying to escape into another row. But the aisles didn't run straight anymore. They coiled, like veins under skin, like something alive. No matter which way I turned, I ended up staring back into that same stretch of space. And he was still there, the tall man, head cocked, watching. Only now, he was closer. The hunched one flickered behind him in the reflection, neck jerking at impossible angles, and the small one crawled along the floor, long fingers hooking around the shelf corners, pulling itself forward, inch by inch. I realized something horrible then. The store wasn't warping to trap me, it was reshaping itself to bring them closer. The shelves groaned as the store twisted, their weight shifting like bones grinding inside a body too old to keep standing. Boxes tumbled off the top rows, cereal and rice scattering across the floor, rolling in every direction. I pressed myself against the wall of canned soup, breath sharp and shallow, eyes darting down the warped aisle. And that's when I heard it, the sound of nails, a scraping, deliberate, long. I forced myself to look. The small one was crawling now, not just in reflection, but half slipping out of it, its body jerking like a video skipping frames. Its arms were so long, fingers splayed, the nails black and curved, dragging across the linoleum with that dry, skin-crawling scrape. Every inch it gained made a sound that dug deeper into me, like it wasn't just scratching the floor, like it was carving something inside my chest. Behind it, the hunched figure swayed, back and forth, head lolling like it was listening to a song only it could hear. The sway quickened, growing sharper, like a pendulum winding tighter before it finally snaps. And above them both, towering still, the tall man took one more step. His face began to show. Not clearly, never clearly, but enough. His skin looked pale, too pale, like wax left under a hot bulb. His eyes were voids. Dark sockets where something should have been. And his mouth. God. His mouth didn't open like a person's. It cracked. Sideways. And then he smiled. The small one's nails clicked faster now, dragging itself forward, closer to the register. The hunched one tilted its head toward me, bones crunching as it turned too far. And the shelves shifted again, narrowing the aisle, forcing me forward, toward them. The aisle spat me out like the throat of some great beast. One step, and I stumbled back into the open space of the store, the register glowing faint green, like it had been waiting for me. But I wasn't alone. They were there. The tall man stood less than 10 feet away now, jacket stiff, head cocked at that awful, curious angle. His body didn't move with breath. It didn't move at all, just a statue of bone and wax, studying me. The hunched one stood at his side, its arms dangled low, fingertips twitching against its knees like they were counting down. Its head lolled from one shoulder to the other, faster now, as though impatient. And the small one, it had pulled itself all the way out of the reflection. It crouched on the tiles, arms bent like broken sticks, nails tapping against the register counter. The sound was deliberate, patterned. Tap, tap. Pause. Tap, tap, tap. Like it was spelling something only they could read. I backed against the wall, register buzzing at my hip, my heart pounding like it was trying to get out. The tall man leaned forward, closer. His face loomed into the light, the waxy skin cracked with the motion, fissures splitting his cheeks, widening as his mouth stretched into that impossible, sideways smile. The register beeped. The screen flickered numbers across its face. Not prices, not totals. Words. Welcome home. The lights above me blew out all at once. The store plunged into black. And I heard them move. Darkness. Only the register's green glow lit the room, casting its weak pulse over the counter. My breath came ragged, chest rattling like a paper bag in wind. I couldn't see them, but I felt them. the scrape of nails on tile, the swaying rhythm of bones, the heavy drag of boots across the floor, and then a sound I'll never forget. The drawer of the register slid open on its own. A sharp metallic clatter, coins rattling inside like teeth in a jaw. The screen flickered. New words. Place item here. I shook my head. No, 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 no. A hand touched my wrist. Cold. Too long. Too many fingers. I jerked back, but the small one was there, half risen on the counter now. Its face pressed inches from mine. Hollow sockets. A grin smeared too wide. Its nails drummed against the metal drawer. Impatient. Behind it, in the dark, the hunched one's sway grew frantic. Left, right, left. Bones popping, tendons snapping, as though its head might tear loose any second. And above them both, towering, the tall man leaned over the counter, his cracked smile dripping shadows across the keys of the register. The screen glitched again. Place yourself here. I bolted for the door, slammed my shoulder against the glass, praying for it to give. But the door didn't move. It never moved. Behind me, the drawer of the register slammed shut. The chime rang again. This time, not from the door, from inside the store, as if something else had just arrived. And in that ringing note, stretching too long, twisting into static, I finally understood. The customers never leave. They only wait.